Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Always Out of Market podcast. You just got two of us today. You just have me and Jason. I'm Steven. That's Jason. And
Hello.
so we got our Titans and Broncos boys here. Um, this is the usual two-person show, too, when it's when it's only two of us. But
Yeah.
obviously, this is we're recording this on Friday. This will probably go up either Saturday or Sunday, and this upcoming Thursday night is the 2024 NFL Draft. I'm pretty fucking excited. I don't know about you, Jason.
Oh yeah, I'm very excited because we have a first round pick this
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
And
So that's
the,
something to get excited about for sure. Because we did talk about that last year. We did the draft spectacular thing last year, but you didn't really have anything to get excited about because y'all didn't have one.
I mean it's still exciting to see who everybody on the podcast who their team picks in the first round. I mean that was still exciting regardless, but I definitely am more excited this year than last year since we're actually gonna hopefully make a pick. I mean there is talk about us potentially trading back, uh, and getting more draft capital for later in the draft, but I don't I don't think that's what's gonna happen.
Well, so right now, I've got it pulled up, and I've got it on both of our screens here. So obviously, this is still the draft order as of now. No one has really done any major trades for the draft yet, other than the only one that really happened in the offseason was Minnesota made some
Yeah.
trades. And then, of course, Chicago has had Carolina's pick for ever since the
For
beginning
a
of
year.
last season. Yeah, and then other than that, there's the Cleveland to Minnesota here, but there's not. Mostly everybody has their own picks as of right now. That I know of, that is based fully on their schedule, or their record from last year. But it's pretty interesting where people are picking. Even teams that were relatively contenders this last year, some of them just with the way things fell, depending on how bad their particular division was and stuff. Some of them have higher picks than what you would expect. But then, of course, there is still potential trades. But this website, Tankathon, does show where the ones that are traded. But the other interesting thing is the Rams. I don't know if you saw this, Jason. The Rams have not had a first-round pick since 2016. Did you know that?
I did not, but I'm not surprised because they seem to trade a lot during the draft. So I would be interested to see what they do with it this year if they decide to keep it, which so far it looks like they're going to,
I would.
because I don't they need.
Um, I mean, the Rams were a good team. I still say that the Rams and the Lions both could have gone far in the playoffs if they didn't have to play each other in round one. I think both teams are very good. Obviously, they found they found gold in like what, round 4 or 5. When did they take Puka Nakua? It was late.
Oh yeah, it was. I think you're right. 4 or 5, something like that.
Yeah. So obviously, they've got a good team. They've got one of the best head coaches in the NFL. So I think, you know, I think they'll be good. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear my dogs barking in the background, but
I think, uh, here's something that they could potentially be trying to get in the draft in the first round this year that I just thought about. They need a replacement for Aaron Donald.
yeah, yes. I wish this would this website would show. I've also got it pulled up. I'll switch over. Let's see who Daniel Jeremiah has the Rams taking in the first round. He has them taking an edge on here.
I
Interesting.
mean, I can see it.
Yeah,
Is that the guy from UCLA?
it is UCLA edge.
That really good pick,
Yeah,
especially that I've seen mocks of him going in the top 10. So to get him at 19 would be pretty good. I feel like.
I think it's just going to fully depend on how the quarterback draft goes. Me and Tyler were talking about this the other night, that he just doesn't believe that he really thinks it'll be quarterback, 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 quarterback. And I was like, well, a lot of the players probably, at least a couple of them probably don't deserve to be picked that early. It's just the fact of if you're desperate for a quarterback, you might reach for a quarterback, I guess. So people are even saying they think Bo Nix might make it in the first round. I don't see it, but
I
the
definitely I definitely think he's going in the first round.
if he does, it has to be like mid round because even the late first round teams don't really. I can't think of any of them really needing a quarterback.
So okay, so go back to the tankathon so we can see the draft order real quick.
Yeah,
So obviously at this point the Bears at one, they're taking a quarterback. They got rid of Justin Fields. That
yeah,
was the drafting a quarterback. The Commanders, they're gonna get a quarterback. They traded Sam Howell to the Seahawks. The Patriots, I've seen the Patriots are open to trade the third pick, but they're gonna want a generational amount of picks in return for it. So I don't think they're gonna get it.
they got to
So
get a quarterback, man. They
they're
just
they're
got
gonna,
to.
that's three quarterbacks in the top three. Now the Cardinals, obviously they have Kyler Murray, and they seem to be riding with him for the time being. I could see them trading back and trading with somebody like Minnesota or Denver or the Raiders to try and get up there and get the fourth quarterback. Which I mean, at this point, you've got Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, and then you've got like uh, Bo Nix and uh, JJ McCarthy and those guys that are in that second tier.
Yeah.
So, and then the Chargers, they don't need a quarterback. Obviously, they have Justin Herbert, he's a good enough quarterback. They just need to get him weapons. I don't think they'll trade back. I think they'll try and get probably the top receiver that's available. Uh, the Giants seem to be done with Daniel Jones, so possible quarterback right there.
Mm, I really don't know. The Giants are the team that I think is the most wild card team possible in this early part of the draft because I agree. I mean, let's be honest. The Carolina Panthers gifted Caleb Williams to the Bears. That's just
Yep.
how it happened. Still hope he's a bust. I hope Justin Fields plays out of his fucking mind at the Steelers. I don't know why. I don't know. Something about the way that whole situation went down just bugged me so much. Um, and then the Commanders, really, I think it's going to be. I don't know which one it'll be, but I do think it'll be either Jaden Daniels or Drake May. Um, Jaden Daniels has his problems. Plays a little bit too much hero ball. Might get himself injured if he's not careful. If you watch some of the tape, he has that problem. But
He seems to be potential for another Anthony Richardson
yeah,
from this.
no, that's truly true. But at the same time, would the Commanders actually go for another North Carolina quarterback right after losing the last one? Because wasn't Sam Howell from UNC? So
I feel like that's right. I don't
yeah,
know for a fact, but I feel like that is right. I mean, it. You already know I'm a big fan of Jaden Daniels. I've said that if the Broncos trade up, that's who I want us to get. Um, if I'm the Commanders and the Bears obviously take Caleb Williams, I'm taking Jaden Daniels, and I'll leave Drake May for the Patriots to take. I think I think you're better off with Jaden Daniels, but we don't. We'll find out. Over the next 5 years or so, who was the right pick.
I think it's just so weird because it's so hard to tell because you really, I mean, certain players that is like they spend a lot of time in the SEC. You would think they would be much more much more NFL ready, but it's just completely different. It's not like SEC has the best chance versus Big Ten or one of the other. It just depends on the person. It really does. Just being able to go to that next level.
It just really goes to show like how big of a skill level jump there is from the college level to the NFL.
Yeah.
Because these guys come in here and you see like Bryce Young goes to the Panthers and struggles, and it wasn't all his fault, but there were definitely some times that it was his fault, and it was on stuff that he would have gotten away with at Alabama in college, but it's not going to work in the NFL
Yeah.
because those guys are just that much more talented.
And that's one thing that also annoys me about this is because, in my opinion, and I know we're probably a little biased given given it's Bryce Young that we're talking about here, but I'm thinking about the situation that Caleb Williams is getting as the first overall pick is very different than what Bryce Young had. Because Bryce Young, they gave up all of their good players, basically. The Panthers didn't have really anybody for him, but the Bears do have DJ Moore. They picked up Keenan Allen. They've got a bunch of good players. So I think Caleb Williams is going into a good situation. I actually think I feel worse for whoever gets picked second here with the Commanders because I still think they're going to have problems with protection unless they do really well in like maybe the second and third round, getting a offensive tackle that drops or something. I feel like the Commanders have to go offensive line next round, but I'm not as invested in that particular team. Obviously, I put them as my number 32, so. I don't know. I think there's I think that number 2 and number 3 is a much worse situation than number 1, which is really bizarre, but it's because the Panthers suck so bad that they gave it to the Bears. But I do want to touch on something you said, though. We kind of got away from it, but I think Arizona is in a very interesting spot because it's like you said, you could see them trading back. Somebody, let's say the top 3 quarterbacks go, and let's say somebody's really high on J.J. McCarthy, or I don't think he'd go that early, but Bo Nix or Michael Penix Jr., one of those guys. Arizona might be like, hey, we're open for business. Let's see what you can offer us. But at the same time, it's like they're right there at 4, and I still say that the Cardinals were a better team than their record shows this last year. They did lose Marquise Brown, though.
Yeah.
How could they not just take Marvin Harrison Jr. right here? Or Malik Neighbors or whoever they're higher on? How could you not take the best wide receiver at this point?
I think if they do trade their pick and go back, they're gonna trade it with, I feel like, the Vikings, because there have been so many things come out about the Vikings wanting JJ McCarthy, and he's not gonna be there at 11. I don't think. I think another team will pick him up before they get to 11, or someone will trade up to get in front of Minnesota to stop them from getting him. But like you said, Arizona has the chance to get a potential generational wide receiver with Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors or Roma Dunze. But if they were to trade back to say between 10 and 14, we'll say, there will still be, a couple of really good wide receivers still available.
Right.
And they could potentially, grow them into a big role in the NFL. Obviously, that's taking a bigger risk if you're waiting on guys that are not as proven as somebody like Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors. So it's one of those things of how confident are you and how good you've scouted the guys that are not expected to go as early.
Yeah, and I mean, there's always shocks. There's always real big shocks. Like I remember last year, we were surprised how long it was before a single wide receiver went off the board. It wasn't until like the mid part of the first round. But yeah, the 4, 5, and 6 is what makes me nervous because, of course, I'm a Titans fan. I've got number 7. So 4, 5, and 6, they make me very nervous because Arizona and the Chargers both need wide receivers, in my opinion. Arizona, I don't know exactly how their offensive line is. Again, they're a team that I forget exists. But I know with the Chargers, a lot of people are saying the Chargers might actually go for an offensive tackle. Because we got to remember that Harbaugh is now the head coach, and he does like the run game more. So the Chargers is going to be more run than we're used to seeing. They've always been a very pass-heavy team. Even with their running backs, they use them as receiving backs more than actual, rushing the ball. So I could see there being an opportunity for them to take Joe Alt there, which is who I want at number 7. And I would be devastated if he was off the board. And at that point, if all the good wide receivers and the good, and Joe Alt's off the board, I say we at least trade down, because the big thing for the Titans is last year, since we had to move up to the beginning of the second round to get Will Levis, we gave up our third round pick this year. So, and we don't have a third round pick next year either, because we traded that to get L'Jarius Sneed. So I could see us trading back from 7 if Joe Alt and whoever the high wide receivers are off the board, because the Giants, I don't know what they're going to do. They have a bad offensive line too. So I could see them getting a tackle. And then, I could see them being a potential trade back too. It's weird. I don't, the Giants being at 6 is the worst one, but then 4 and 5, there's definitely some opportunities there too. But I personally would love it if everybody was battling to move up for the quarterbacks, because I'm not in that market. We are not in the quarterback market. We got Will Levis. We think he's our guy. We got Mason Rudolph as a solid backup. Malik Willis will probably be gone after this year, I would think, unless, he does some miraculous thing and gets himself back on the field. But it's great. It's great to not be in the quarterback market. It'll be bad if we suddenly have problems and need a quarterback, because this is the last year. Next year's not going to be good for quarterbacks, and that's a big. You had talked about it previously, Jason, that if you're going to get a quarterback, you need to do it this year, because you're not going to have good opportunities next year at all, unless somebody comes out of nowhere in the college level this year.
Yeah. So I got a question for you.
Okay.
And that is, if Joe Alt is off the board when it's y'all's pick at 7, if you pick at 7 and you don't trade back, what do you want them to go for?
I guess that still depends on what 4, 5, and 6 do.
Okay,
Okay, go
let's
ahead.
say 1 are quarterbacks, obviously. Let's say the Cardinals traded back to 11 with Minnesota. They take J.J. McCarthy.
Okay.
At 5, the Chargers we'll say they take Marvin Harrison Jr. And then at 6, we'll say the Giants take Joe Alt.
Fuck. I think at that point, Malik Neighbors fell to us. So I would say probably Malik Neighbors, because he is really good. Some people are saying they think he's going to be better than Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't believe that. I don't know how you could watch the tape and believe that, but I do think he'll be very good. So you said Malik Neighbors wasn't off the board, right?
I did not.
Okay. I would say Malik Neighbors would be my pick there. But I would definitely, if I was the GM, before putting in that card saying Malik Neighbors, I would definitely talk to other teams and see what they're offering. Because even moving down just a couple spots at that point would be okay, because the other alternative for me that I'd be fine with, somebody's really high on Malik Neighbors or whoever is, the target that people are looking at that next time. If they're willing to give us a decent haul, I would be fine with trading back some. Because, again, we don't have that third-round pick. I would love another second-round pick, because me personally, I think looking at this particular year, it's pretty hefty the first few rounds, and then there's a huge drop-off. And we have a bunch of late-round picks. We could still, to get even more early-round picks, we could also deal our 7th-round picks that we've got. We've still got 2, I think. We gave away one of them to get a tackle. We made a trade with the Browns. But that would be, personally, if somebody gave me a good haul, I would say forget Malik Neighbors. I hate to lose him, but also because we also got to remember we do have Calvin Ridley and D-Hop this year, but D-Hop may be gone next year, so we do need a new wide receiver to have lined up. But I would be tempted at that point to trade back and then potentially take one of the other offensive tackles later on. There's Fashanu from Penn State. There's J.C. Latham from Bama. There's Fuaga from, I can't remember where he's from, but I've seen his tape and he looks pretty good too. And I think it's going to depend on, if I was the GM, I would say the first thing I would probably do at that point is I'd go over to Bill Callahan, our new offensive line coach, and be like, okay, these are the offensive linemen that are obviously still here, and we can probably get them later. Are you fine with us dropping back and just getting one of these other ones instead of the next best one? We'd be okay with potentially losing out on a couple. If he's cool with that, I'd probably say, all right, let's trade back. Because the real biggest thing is we do have some decent wide receivers this year. And obviously, looking towards the future, we're going to need wide receivers. But also at the same time, we got to protect Will Levis, man. That offensive line was so fucking terrible. And we already got Cushenberry from y'all for our center.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, Jason, that was 100% the best move. Despite everything else we've done and all the flashy talks about our moves this offseason, I still think that's the best move we have made for the Titans is getting Cushenberry. And then you got Pierce Skronsky at left guard. If we can get a decent left tackle, his blind side is protected. Our right tackle side and our right guard side might be still a little weak, but at least he can see that side. So I think it's hard for me to pass up on a tackle. It's not a sexy pick. A lot of people don't want to go for something like that in the first round, but if you can get somebody who's just a plug and play, he's set, why wouldn't you do that? So
yeah, I'm glad that you put out your reasoning as to why you would take a wide receiver if Joe Alt was off the board, because I was sitting here wondering, like, why would you want another receiver when you have D-Hop and Calvin Ridley, and you got, like, Westbrook Akine and, all those guys who are capable of being wide receiver 3. So that makes sense now with D-Hop potentially being gone after this season. So
we are technically in his void year this year. And
okay.
I don't know what he'll want to do. I would hope he wants to play with Will Levis, so he may sign an extension because, I've talked about it many times on this podcast that me and Tyler were there the first game where Levis finally got to play. D-Hop did not have a single touchdown yet, and then he got 3 in that game from Levis. So I think there's a connection there. They still, they still played well together. They did have a little bit of a drop-off. I think a lot of teams kind of figured out Levis a little bit more. The Falcons were not prepared for him to just go nuts like that game. But even still, he still showed enough to me that if Brian Callahan can develop him, because he's worked with plenty of other great quarterbacks, I think, he truly believes, and I'm sure that's why they hired him, is that he believes Levis is going to be the future for this team. And so, yeah, he'll be good on wide receivers this year, but it'd be good to go ahead and get a really good wide receiver this year and have them sit behind D-Hop and Ridley and be wide receiver 3. And then potentially, with the experience gained this year, can become the wide receiver 1 or 2, depending on how it goes. So, yeah. I definitely think if we don't take a wide receiver in round 1, we do in 2. I would think.
And like I was saying, there are a lot of good receivers. I feel like that's probably the most saturated position in this draft is probably wide receiver. If it's not wide receiver, it's the offensive line. I think
easily. I was about to say that. I think it's really between those two. Is the wide receiver and offensive line. This class is huge for this. I will say there is kind of a dark horse thing, and obviously we talked a lot about me. We're going to get to Broncos here in a minute, I'm sure, but the dark horse picks that I think Titans fans would not be happy about, but I think I would be okay with, and I know I've already talked about it with you some. Some people think that we might get Dallas Turner, the linebacker from Alabama. We know him well. He's really good, and we did lose a lot of our main defensive linemen and linebackers to free agency. Fortunately, to the fucking Texans, of all people, for most of them. So, our secondary set. We've got, I definitely think we should probably draft a cornerback or a safety or something in the later rounds, just as a development player. But we've got L'Jarius Sneed as cornerback 1. We've got Chidobe Awuzie as our cornerback 2, and then we have Roger McCreary as cornerback 3 in the nickel. So really, we just gotta, if we're gonna do defensive players in this draft, it's gotta be defensive line, linebackers, that sort of thing, because our defensive backs are fine. We don't need to worry about that, I don't think.
Would you, would you be down for I can't remember what his name is, the guy from Texas,
Texas.
Tavondre?
Oh, Tavondre Sweat.
Yeah.
Doesn't he have off-field problems really bad? Isn't that what I've heard?
Might have had something come up recently, but before that, I don't think he had anything.
No, I'll tell you, I mean, to be completely honest with you, Jason, haven't really done a whole lot of research on the defensive backs for this draft because I'm not really looking at it. Again, when I say late, I'm talking like probably 4th or 5th round potentially. Just somebody that can potentially develop into a good pick and have
But
his, yeah.
He's not in the secondary. He's on the line.
Oh, wait, Devondre Sweat. Oh, is he the defensive lineman? Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I've watched some stuff on it because there's talk about the Broncos potentially taking him at 12 if he's there. So
okay. I didn't think
he's a player, but he did have some off-field stuff come up recently. I don't think it's anything like crazy, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess I haven't really looked enough into that in general. I've been very much focused on offensive side of the ball too, but I do think Dallas Turner is a potential pick for us at that point at 7. If we don't take him at 7, he's going to be gone. I think if he's not taken by us, he's taken by the Falcons. The Falcons would probably be interested in taking him because they do have a defensive-minded head coach now, and I think he would love to have a first-round defensive player. But then the other dark horse pick for us, which I think is a dark horse pick for a lot of teams, is Brock Bowers. Where the hell is Brock Bowers going to go? I really don't know because it's so weird because he's a tight end, but he's also such a huge playmaker that he can be the potential new Sam Laporta of this year, which, of course, Sam Laporta was, I think he was drafted, in the 2nd round or 3rd round by the Lions?
Yeah, wasn't the 1st round. That.
Yeah, but obviously Brock Bowers is going in the 1st round. It's just when, because he is a tight end. That position is not as desirable to take early on as other positions, but some of the best teams, a lot of people have talked about it. Look at the best teams in the league. A lot of the best teams in the league have one of the best tight ends you can think of. The Chiefs, they have Travis Kelce. The 49ers, they have George Kittle. Lions had Sam Laporta. The Ravens, Mark Andrews. Yeah. Tight ends that are notable, and they're all on the teams that are fucking winning. So there's something going on there. Because if you get a good tight end, especially one that can also block really well. I mean, look at George Kittle. George Kittle is an incredible blocking tight end, which has made Christian McCaffrey be unstoppable, basically. So, and Brock Bowers is going to be potentially a new one of those, I think. But it would bother me, I think, a little bit. Not as much as it bother other people, because I think it'd be cool to get a Brock Bowers Titans jersey, to be honest. But I think a lot of Titans fans would be annoyed by it because it's like, I don't think that's really our need. We have Chigakonkwo and Josh Wiley, who we just got the last 2 years. So do we really want to take another tight end, especially one in the 1st round? I feel like the goal is to not ever draft this early again at 7. Obviously every team wants to be drafting late, if they think they're going to potentially have a Super Bowl chance here. But I think it's just going to depend on. I don't know what's going on inside that organization. We got to remember this year's going to wild card because this is a brand new team. It's a brand new culture and everything with this new head coach. The only thing that's coming over is our GM, basically, and a few notable players from last year. But otherwise, it's a brand new team.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about y'all. Let's talk about the Broncos. What the hell do you think they're gonna do?
I was just we could just keep going through the order.
Okay, all right.
We'll get to the Broncos in a minute. We're not that much further down. So
yeah,
you touched on the Falcons potentially taking like Dallas Turner or something like that.
Yeah, let's
And
see. Let's see what DJ said. What did he have the
I,
Falcons taking?
I think you're spot on taking someone like him. What do they
Hey,
have?
they have
Look at that.
Dallas Turner.
Yeah,
Hey,
I spot on. Like I don't see them taking anybody on the offensive side. In the first round at least. I definitely think they'll pick up a couple pieces in later rounds. But like they're not in the quarterback market. Obviously, they got Kirk Cousins in the offseason. So no need for that.
mm-hmm.
I do, and they already had a good defense last year. That was the one thing that was the thing that got overshadowed on their team was their defense because of how their offense was run. It just kind of overshadowed how good their defense was. So I think I think the Falcons might actually have a really good year next year.
I think so. I I think the Falcons will be in the playoffs. I don't know if they'll win their division. I think it's going to be between them and the Buccaneers. But
Yeah.
I definitely can see them rocking a wild card spot at the bare minimum.
Yep.
I think Kirk Cousins is actually really good. We always joke about primetime Kirk, stuff like that. But overall, Kirk Cousins has been a solid quarterback. He did pretty good this last year when Justin Jefferson was hurt. Obviously, then he got hurt, and then the whole season basically fell apart. But it was interesting because Kirk Cousins, for Vikings fans, it seemed like they were all kind of just kind of done with him. But the second he was hurt, and they were dealing with Nick Mullins, Jaron Hall, and who else? Oh, the Pastronaut. He was good for like 2 weeks, and then he was terrible. So, obviously they were like, "Wait, come back. We need you really bad now."
Yep.
But yeah, I think one thing for sure is I can say out of all the teams that I'm saying are wild card, dark horse teams to take Brock Bowers, the Falcons is not one of them. They got Kyle
Nope.
Pitts, and I hope that they can actually use Kyle Pitts correctly. For the love of God, please. They do not need a tight end. Kyle Pitts should be incredible if they can just figure it out. And they got Bijan Robinson who can take a lot of the little short passes and stuff too. So, I feel pretty good about them taking a defensive player. I don't know if I'm 100% sure it's Dallas Turner, but I think if he's there, I don't know why they wouldn't take him.
Yeah.
So, all right.
And then think about too is the next pick, which is the Bears with their own pick, not the Panthers. They have 2 top 9 picks this year. So
I think they trade back.
I don't. I think they're going to keep it, and I think they're going to go for whoever the top receiver is.
I'll tell you why I think they're going to trade back. I saw the Bears only have like 4 picks at all this year.
Yeah, but I mean, what would they use the picks for that they would gather out of trading back at this point? Because of all the offseason signings that they've gotten, they have the potential to have one of the best teams in the league. Whether or not that's what happens, we'll see. It's the Bears, but like you mentioned, they have Keenan Allen. They already have Cole Kmet. If they draft Caleb Williams, they should have a solid quarterback. I mean, I guess they could draft an offensive lineman, but by the time they pick at 9, there may not be one of those top guys left. So
I think it's going to depend on what they think of the later rounds, because if they think they can get some building blocks for the future, because we got to remember Keenan Allen's old, man, isn't he? He's like,
he is.
Yeah. So they may have Keenan Allen. I don't remember what the contract was, if it was like 1 or 2 years, but they're not going to have him for that long probably. So I would go ahead and prepare with another wide receiver. So yeah, I think if one of the big wide receivers does potentially, is still on the board here, like I would think if Roma Dunze's here, I think they would take him probably.
That's who is on that mock draft that they have.
Oh, did they?
Yep.
I swear I didn't read DJ's mock draft before this, so I didn't know that. Let's see. Wait.
Well, we our research. So
hey. We're prepared, I guess. We know who the players are. I don't know necessarily who everyone's saying they're picking, but yeah, Roma Dunze at number 9 here. Okay, yeah, I could see that. I could see them doing that. I could see them just taking the pick there and just moving on. But I don't know. It's just weird to me that they have so few picks, and it's like, and they are early round picks, so that might be enough for them. But I think at least to kind of have some building blocks for the future, especially if they think Caleb Williams is going to just completely transform their organization as a whole for what it's been for several years. I don't know why you wouldn't at least potentially consider trading back. Maybe not far, maybe a couple picks back, depending on who has a player they just really want for whatever reason, depending on what happens with the quarterbacks. It's 9 is a very weird spot for them because I do agree with you. I think they're just a little too far back to really get any of the big guys. Unless Romadunze does fall here, but
yeah. And I see on that mock draft they have the trading back.
Yeah, I think the Jets moved up with them. Here, let me switch back where I can see it.
I don't see that happening. I don't see the Jets trading up to get to Marvin Harrison Jr. I think at the Jets. I think the Jets will stay where they're at, and I think they'll take whatever the top receiver is. They can't afford to trade their picks away. They have a lot of rebuilding that they need to do, so they don't need to trade their picks away. I think they need to stay where they're at and just take the top wide receiver that's available if that's what they want to go for.
Yeah, I'm reading this real quick. So the Jets are all in with a veteran quarterback, and they recently acquired 2 offensive tackles to shore up the O-line. They desperately need another playmaker in the passing game to complement Garrett Wilson, so they trade up to select Harrison. Yeah, I don't know if I agree with DJ here. That seems weird to me.
I don't see any teams trading up for anything other than a quarterback this early.
Yeah, especially because, I would think, unless there's something else going on behind the scenes that we're not aware of, I would think most teams are thinking that it's also going to be quarterback, at least the first 3. So that will somewhat push everything else down, I guess. I don't know. I can't wait for everything to just be fucking chaos, though. You never know.
Our number 1 overall pick.
That would be the Bears would be absolutely ridiculous to do something like that.
Yeah, yep. It's the Bears. I'll put it past.
We traded away Justin Fields, and then we're not even going to take a quarterback in the first round. Yeah. Okay, so they have the Cardinals have their what? Oh, he's got the Cardinals trading.
This is what I'm saying is going to happen right here.
Oh, so he had the Cardinals trade with the Vikings. So the Vikings went 4th. Oh, okay, yeah. That is what you said.
Happen. Really, really, really think like if I was able to and going to place money on a bet on the draft, it would be for this trade to happen.
Fair.
I really think that they're going to trade up to get JJ McCarthy.
Well, them having 11 and 23 does give them a decent amount of capital to give up to make it possible. Because there's a lot of teams that I don't know if it's necessarily possible to move far enough, just because of unless they give up a bunch of future first round picks or something. But you only have so many of those, and other teams are like, how far into the future are we thinking about here? But I don't know. I could see that part of it. I don't know if I believe in the Jets Chargers trade though. That one seems weird to me. But so he's got the Cardinals taking Jared Verse. I could see that.
That seems. I think that's pretty close to what's going to happen.
Okay.
Which what the Vikings pick and what the Cardinals pick.
Well, come on, man. We got to start talking about you. What are you thinking? So y'all are picking 12, and this is saying Brock Bowers.
And what's crazy, I think he'll be there. I really think he's going to be there. And we are heavy on tight ends on our roster right now, but none of them are playmakers. And the one that we have that could be a playmaker was hurt all season last season. He got better towards the end of the year, came in, played one game, got hurt again, was out the rest of the year. So
Who
I'm kind of
who was that? Was that Troutman or the
no,
other
that's
guy?
Dulcich.
Ah,
Strawman is a blocker. And so is I can't. I'm blanking on his name. We have another guy that came from the Saints. He's a blocker as well. I have done my research. I have said my piece several times on this. And now that we're less than a week away, I hope that we do exactly what this says and we draft Brock Bowers at 12. And I hope we trade up and get at least into the beginning of the second round, if not the end of the first round, and we take Bo Nix.
it's crazy to think how things have changed. Think about years ago, us all shitting on Bo Nix, and now you want him on your team. It's crazy.
It's not that I want him on my team. I think we need him because we're not trading up into the top four. There's no way we're giving up that much capital with where our team is at. Our team is not just a quarterback away like a whole lot of these other teams potentially are. We're several pieces away, and we need our draft capital at the beginning of the years upcoming for next year and the year after that. So, if
It,
anything, if we don't stay at 12, it's because we're trading back. And I don't know who's going to trade up to get to 12. That feels like an odd spot to want to trade up to get to.
I feel like
So,
I feel like you're just gonna have to pick here. I feel like
I,
that. Yeah,
I'm going to take the best player on the board.
best player
I,
available is honestly fair. Yeah, because yeah, like you said, y'all are in a weird, y'all are in a meltdown of a situation over there in Denver. Because the other thing to think about too is that you have to have money to technically sign your draft class, and y'all are down 85 mil out the gate from your standard salary cap. I don't know what y'all's salary cap is like now with everything, but you do have to leave at least some for them for your draft
we're
class.
on our salary cap. We've managed just to be okay somehow. I don't know how they did it, but our salary cap, we should be fine with the draft and all that. Even if we were to trade up and have to pay our guy a little bit more, if we were to draft somebody in the top, 5 or whatever. Um, but I think I've come to terms with us potentially taking Brock Bowers and Bo Nix in the first and second rounds, or first and late first round, or whatever it might be. Um, but I am worried that if we take Brock Bowers, that someone else is going to get Bo Nix, and then we're stuck with like Michael Pratt from uh, like Tulane or wherever he's coming out of, or the quarterback from Western Kentucky, which led led college football in passing yards and stuff last season, I think. But out of all the guys, or Michael Penix would still be available potentially. Uh, but he's really fallen off my radar at this point, obviously, because it took me that long to remember that he's, one of the guys that we could draft.
His draft stock fell hard with the national championship game, though. Too, like
Yeah.
he did not read the Michigan defense very well at all, and I think that scared off some teams. Which really his draft stock was a lot higher. I think he was above JJ McCarthy going into going
He was
into you know
he was
that
top he
game.
was borderline top 3. He was up there with Drake May for a while.
Yeah.
At least
Go ahead.
I was just saying he was up there with Drake May in my book for a while, and now he's probably 6 or 7 in the quarterbacks for me. Just I I've liked what I've seen from Bo Nix since I've been watching more of what he's done. And I like the ability that he has to air the ball out, and the NFL these days, that's what you have to do. You got to air the ball out. Yeah, running the ball, you got to do it to set it up. We have Javonte Williams. I'm not worried about any of that, and I really hope that we get Blake Corum in round 2 or 3. I don't think he'll fall all the way to 3, but
I don't know.
Anyway,
There are a lot of people that think he might. There's other running backs that have really kind of made their names known with the combine and with the Senior Bowl that have kind of pushed him down. No one's really talking about Blake Corum, but we got to remember he was pretty vital in that game. Pretty
yeah,
vital for the Michigan team this whole year. So he is a solid power back. So I would think a lot of teams would be interested in him, but he's one of those guys that just kind of been pushed to the side with everybody else talking about all these other players. But it's possible. I could see him dropping to 3, but I don't know where y'all pick in the 3rd round either. But
I don't remember.
I do think one thing that I want to address, and let me switch back to it again, is y'all pick right before a division rival, right before the
Yep.
Raiders, and this on DJ's mock draft, he has them taking Michael Penix Jr. here. So that's
Yep.
the other thing to keep in mind is playing it around the Raiders. Like depending on what would they potentially, if one of these quarterbacks fell, like Michael Penix, they would take him, or would they potentially be in the market to one of these other teams in the market to make a big move up? I don't know. And
Yeah,
that would
I'm worried about that
yeah.
too. I know the Raiders are potentially in the market for a quarterback, and I'm worried about them potentially trading up to literally just like 10,
Leapfrog y'all, basically.
basically get right in front of us. And I've seen the mock draft where the Vikings trade up with the Cardinals, and then the Cardinals trade back again with the Raiders. So yeah, I've seen it happen in mock drafts where the Raiders managed to get right in front of us and take a quarterback, and then we're stuck with just the best player on the board. Which, if it's Brock Bowers, I'm not mad about it. But we have to get a quarterback this year. We have to. If we don't, we're ready to sign Patrick Mahomes, because if not, we're screwed.
I just have a hard time believing that the Broncos organization would try going out and signing somebody that's already in the NFL because of how much the Russell Wilson situation kind of fell apart. So I would think, especially with Sean Payton, I'm sure he's looking for his guy. So I would think that he's in the market this year, and then if nobody's available, I don't know what'll happen, because otherwise I guess y'all would have to rock with Jarrett Stidham again for a couple of years. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is he still on y'all's roster?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
he's a starter right now.
Okay.
So, yeah, I really don't know what to expect from us. Uh, about as much as I don't know what to expect from teams like the Giants and the Cardinals with their pick, just because we're in need of so many different things, and when we pick one, the other's not going to be available next time we pick. So it's kind of a pick your poison kind of thing. I feel like. Uh, scroll down in this mock draft. I want to see if they have Bo Nix going in the first round to anybody.
Well,
Just out
I
of
just
curiosity.
before we move all the way down, I'll just say I wanted to address Fashanu. This is around where I think he'll be in the mid round. So that's why I'm saying if we lose out on Joe Alt and we want to trade back a few, this would be where I'd be looking at, with the Saints, or unfortunately, possibly for you, Jason, the Raiders would be a potential trade offer that the Titans would consider. This would make me very upset if the Colts got Quinyon Mitchell, because he is awesome. I don't know if you've seen any tape on him, but he really made a name for himself at the Senior Bowl. I watched a lot of his clips. Another offensive tackle going to the Seahawks. I don't know how Ryan would feel about this pick, but ooh, gross. Jags take Terrion Arnold on this. The Bengals take J.C. Latham. We already talked about the Rams. Tyler Guyton. See, bunch of offensive linemen. That's what I'm worried about. And I want, before we go down to look at Bo Nix, I just want to say I am worried that if we don't take offensive linemen in the first round, we're not going to get one, or at least they're going to be going off the board, I think, because I think there
Yeah.
were quite a few teams with offensive line issues this year. Dolphins took, I don't even know who that is, Graham Barton, interior offensive lineman. Oh, what just happened? There we go. Nate Wiggins, Brian Thomas Jr. Man, yeah, the Cardinals are just racking up picks in this draft.
Yep.
uh, Dallas Cowboys take Jackson Powers Johnson, another offensive lineman. Green Bay Packers take Amarius Mims. Bucks take Darius Robinson. He's a potential player that I'm looking at as a possible second round pick for us if he drops that far. I don't know if I believe that he will, but if he does, I would be willing to jump on Darius Robinson from Missouri. Byron Murphy to the Cardinals. I don't know how to say that. Jerzan Newton. Tackle. Oh, the Lions get Kool-Aid McKinstry. Wow, the Detroit Lions are just becoming the Alabama Lions, aren't they? They're trying to.
Yep. Sounds like it.
Ravens. Ooh, the Ravens get Cooper DeJean out of Iowa. 49ers taking Chop Robinson seems very 49ers to me. Nope. Bo Nix is not in the first round here.
All right. So if this is an accurate mock draft, which it won't be by the time that it gets here, then I would feel okay about taking Brock Bowers and then trying to get into the second round to get Bo Nix, because I don't think Bo Nix goes further than the second round.
Let's see. I'm trying to. I wonder if I could just find. Okay, so y'all have. Oh God, hold on. Y'all have. Let me pull it up. There we go. And let me zoom in for us here. So y'all have number 12. Y'all do not have a second round pick at the moment, apparently.
And we'll have to up to get into the second round.
That's rough. But I mean, if you had to do it, at least if moving up in the second round would cost you a lot less than moving up in the first round, obviously.
Yep.
So, which is what we did last year. We were trying to move up into the first round to get Will Levis with our second pick, and no one was biting on it. So we ended up doing it with the second round pick, and it worked out because we didn't have to give up any first round capital. But and then y'all have Miami's pick in round 4. You have Carolina / Cleveland's pick at 136, number for round 5. You have 3 round 5 picks.
Yep.
You might be able to dish out a couple of those round 5 picks to move up into the second round, I would think. And maybe like a second round future like 2025 pick or something. You'd be able to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I really don't think Bo Nix goes beyond the second round. I think the team will at least pick him up to be a backup if a team like the Broncos doesn't draft him to be their starter.
Let's see. I'm trying to remember. Let me switch back. Let's look at what the Titans have. I'm trying to remember. Okay, so we have. Let me zoom in again. Man, I love all the ads on the side of my screen. It's really great. So we got obviously number 7 overall. Then we have round 2, number 38. So not too far into the second round. Then, of course, we don't have a third round pick, which is why I'm talking about trading back potentially. Maybe we do that in round 2, depending on how that goes. Maybe we trade back in round 2 instead of round 1 to get a third round pick. And then we have 2 7s. We originally had 3 round 7 or 7th round picks, but we traded one of them away with the Browns. So, yeah, it's just going to depend on late round players they think they can develop, I guess. I don't really know what we're going to do with 5 6 and 2 7s, but maybe we're in the market to move up. Might take a couple of these round 7 picks and move up in the round 6 or 5. I don't know, depending on what we see.
So if you're the Titans GM, do you take that trade offer from the Broncos of 2 5ths and a future second to move up in the second?
Let's see. So y'all are number 76. Wait, no. Wait, what are you talking about? Say it again.
There are 2 of our 5ths and next year's second.
To move up into the second round and take our pick.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a jump there.
It is. It's a pretty big.
Number 136 and 145 and 147. And you're saying like a 2025 second round pick?
Yeah. And let's be honest, we're going to have a high pick next year, which means we'll have a high pick in the second round too.
I mean, you say that, maybe we'll be surprised. I don't know.
We won't be surprised. We're going to be bad next year.
Yeah, I mean, I probably would consider it. It would depend on my board and who I see, how much further they might move. I would probably consider it. Yeah,
because 38, I would think we would trade up into the top 10 of the second round if we were going to try and take Bo Nix. And 38 is right in that realm. It's the sixth pick, technically, of the second round. So something like that might happen. I don't know. Obviously, the chances of that being what happens is very small, but it definitely could be a possibility. And once we get past the Broncos in the first round, I don't really know who anybody's going to take because it's just the middle of the first round and the end of the first round where there's so many players that are just all jumbled together that any team could be willing to take.
One thing that has surprised me a little bit, a lot of people saying that I shouldn't be surprised by this, videos that I've watched of the analysts and stuff have basically addressed this. But one thing I also noticed on this mock draft here by DJ is there is no Xavier Worthy in the first round. I thought that he was looking like a second round pick. When I was making my mock drafts before the combine, I was taking Xavier Worthy in the second round. I was basically always taking Joe Alt and then Xavier Worthy or, another potential wide receiver in the second round. I thought that depending on his performance in the combine, because he set the record, he currently has the record for the 40-yard dash. He ended up getting like 4.21 on a 40. So he's got it, and he was fucking flying. I mean, he literally, if you haven't watched it, Jason, you need to like watch the video of him running. It is wild. Even just his first run, which was still pretty good. I think he got like 4.25 or something. Which obviously I think 4.22 was the record. But they apparently looked at the footage and they were like, hey, I think if you do better on the first 10, whatever they call the 10 yards, the starting bit, then you'll probably make it. And so he was like, fuck it, let's run it again. And then he got it. I thought that would have potentially thrown him in the first round because that means he could be incredible at separation. But it didn't. So that's another potential target that would be on my mind for round 2. If I will tell you right now, if the first 2 rounds for me went Joe Alt and then Xavier Worthy in round 2 or Darius Robinson in round 2, I would call that the perfect draft for me. I would be fine either one of those ways. So are you saying that for you the perfect draft is Brock Bowers, Bo Nix, or is there a better scenario in your mind that's realistic, I guess?
I mean, I would say either Bo Nix definitely is the perfect pick for the second round. We're not using a first round pick to get, a second tier quarterback. That's what I don't want to wind up happening, but I would be surprised if it does. As far as the first round pick, I would be okay with Brock Bowers or Dallas Turner or T'Vondre Sweat. Any of those 3, I think, combined with Bo Nix, I think would be a perfect draft in the first 2 rounds. Now, if we don't trade up into the second round and we wait until the third, then I would say my perfect draft would be Brock Bowers and Blake Corum.
Okay. All right. Well, do you have anything else you want to say about the draft? Anything you want to address?
I'll throw out. You were talking about Xavier Worthy. I've seen a lot of mock drafts of him going to the Chiefs in the first round.
Well, and that's the thing is what they've got is they don't have him. They have his teammate, Adonai Mitchell, on here. which, um, but they're saying that since they got Marquise Brown, they do not want Xavier Worthy because they're very similar. So I guess they're looking for more of a physical wide receiver, somebody that's more of a fight for the ball kind of wide receiver as opposed to a separator. So I guess I see it, but
I but like we've said 100 times already, we won't know what anybody's going to pick until they announce it
oh
on
yeah,
draft.
there's always going to be surprises. There's going to be reaches. There's going to be just.
I don't think Cooper DeJean is going to be there that late. I think he's going to be in the middle of the first round.
I think so too. I agree with you on that. I think that's awfully late for Cooper DeJean to fall all the way to 30. When we got to talk about, I mean, think about what Iowa was. Iowa was one of those teams that their defense was incredible. Their offense was fucking terrible. So it was always like, bet the under if you can.
Yep.
But so he was a lockdown corner there, which is why, of course, he's here. The other thing that has made things a little bit more interesting for me is Kool-Aid McKinstry is another one that I've been kind of watching because I do think Terrion Arnold will go before him. His Alabama teammate. But the one thing I'm not sure about with Kool-Aid McKinstry is if his special teams might play a little bit of him potentially going earlier than we think. Because we got to remember, the rules changed for the kickoff this year. There will be more actual returns. And Kool-Aid McKinstry did, do some kickoff and punt returns, if I remember correctly, at Alabama. So he's got experience doing that. So I could see a team looking at that and being like, this is a potential, we're not just getting a corner, we're also getting a good return specialist as well. So
yeah, I could see him going, 18 to 25 or so potentially, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did slip down to, 28 with the Bills. Just because there is Terrion Arnold and Cooper DeJean, and there's definitely teams that need corners, but there's not very many that are like starving for corners.
I'm just looking at this. Can you just imagine how excited Dan Campbell would be if Kool-Aid McKinstry was here though at this pick? I could totally get it because he's got Brian Branch, he's got Jahmyr Gibbs, he's got Jamison Williams, he's got who am I forgetting? And then I guess he would have Kool-Aid McKinstry. They've got a couple other Bama players that I can't think of right now on that team, I'm pretty sure. But it's kind of bizarre to me that they've got so many. And, of course, people are going to be like, well, it's Alabama. They always have tons of players on these teams. Yeah, but that many just that I can think of on the top of my head from the Lions is pretty nuts.
That are all
that are all starters. Yeah, exactly. Okay.
So.
Well, Jason, we've been going for a little over an hour. Did you want to do anything else, or it's up to you, buddy?
I think this was a good episode. Just talking about the draft.
Talking about the draft.
Because honestly, until I think yesterday, I forgot that it was in a week.
It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. It's already here. I mean, we're adults now. Time seems to fly by a little bit quicker than we would probably like it to. But I am also super excited. I've been waiting for the draft. Pretty much ever since the playoffs started, I've just been like, all right, ready for draft.
Yep.
And I know you're like that too. But yeah, I think this will be good. I'll tell people that are watching or listening to this, the plan is we are going to do like a draft watch party again. So look out for that. We'll probably send something out. We'll probably actually use our Twitter again for this. And, of course, we'll make sure that, as many people can be aware of it as possible, that we're going to do like a draft party. Come and hang out with us, chill and chat. We'll make sure to respond to y'all. Let us know who your teams are, who you think you're going to pick. And let us know in the comments here, too. We're curious to see, which teams y'all are fans of, the people that are watching us, because especially looking at my stats on just for Buzzsprout for our podcast version, not the YouTube version. There's people in New York. There's people in Wisconsin. I'd love to hear who y'all's teams are, if it's somebody in that area or if it's a different team. And yeah, just let us know what you think. And let us know what you think about how we feel about our own teams. If you think we're terribly wrong, or whatever. Anyway, JC, you got anything else you want to add?
We should mention what we're doing in a couple days
Yes.
for our additional supplemental content. We're as we've talked about before, we're gonna be heading out to Talladega Super Speedway to watch some NASCAR. It'll be me, Steven, and Tyler, as long as the race is not rained out and pushed back to Monday. Then it'll just be me and Tyler. And we're doing the same thing for our fantasy draft that we did last year when we just watched a race on TV, but we're going to be there in person. Everybody's going to have a randomized driver. We'll get our fantasy draft order based off of that. We're going to be going into the garage and seeing all the cars being worked on beforehand, and potentially going to like Q&A sessions with the drivers. And we'll see, I don't know if we're going to be allowed to film that or not. We'll figure that out when the time comes.
We'll find out, definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, we plan on making content for that, so make sure to look out for that. It may end up going up probably after the draft, if I had to guess. But
next couple weeks probably.
That'll
officially up.
Yeah, that'll decide our fantasy order, so that's pretty big for us too, because obviously we're excited for the season, excited for fantasy football again. So, all right, well, thanks again so much for watching, everybody. Y'all have a good day. Have a good weekend. This has been the Always Out of Market podcast. Hands in. It's just, in. We got to shake hands, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Ready? Football on 3. 1, 2, 3. Football.
Football.
All right. See ya.